Well, hello, YouTubes. Oh, sorry. Well, hello, YouTubes. Welcome to Campaign Train. I'm your host, that guy Cross. This is the basement. I try to come here every Sunday. Missed it last week. Had a thing. Was helping a friend. It's always good to help a friend, so I don't feel bad about that. Sorry I missed y'all. Gonna jump into it in just a second. I've already been playing with some stuff. Let me dress like I normally do for the broadcast because not a broadcast, you know what I mean? Because otherwise my shamag will get in the way of my microphone. Give me a second. Flip that to my necklace, and y'all should be able to hear me fairly well. Let me get rid of my one cute hat and put on my other cute hat. This one's just my silly little, not silly, a little cabbie cap. This one has my Tinkerbell stuff on it. I like Tinkerbell. Not a fan of Disney, but I like Tinkerbell. This is a Disney hat, though. It says never grow up, which is kind of what we're doing here. So let me turn down the volume on the oldie phone so it doesn't bother us in the midstream. And let me get on that. And then how the heck are y'all? Anybody here already? I'll look up in just a second and check. There's always somebody comes and goes, so I was first. All right, so we got Kelly Lynn first. Yes, you're first. And loosely collected. Yep, you loosely collected. You got to be faster. I know you two race all the time, so that's kind of cool. So I'm always glad that y'all are so excited to be here. That's very cool, very cool. All right, so I've got several things I've been working on outside of the ship. Cover those really quick, and then we will go into the ship part. My clamps are here in my way because, not really in my way, because I had to clamp up some things on some doors. There's some pictures of that on the Discord. Go join the Discord. We hang out in Discord and chat and have a cool time. It's good. Plus, I go live on the Discord several times a week, so if y'all want to catch that, there's always that chance. So there's some pictures of that just being clamped up. What I had to do is take my single-sided doors from over there. I have a whole bin over there, but it's not worth grabbing them, of my one-sided doors that I've made on a previous non-live video. And in that, I made them all single-sided. You can just glue them onto a wall. But I realized I was going to need them two-sided for these bulkheads. So what I ended up doing is clamping them together. And then also later, I clamped door frames around them so that they look more finished. I've put two of those into the ship. You can see them from both sides, here and here. And I also built my first two of four. Maths is hard. Let's go shopping. 4 stairwells. Massively messed those up. Easy enough to fix it. I just built 7 stairs when I should have built 5, and I didn't gap them just right, so I had to put a little base. All of this stuff is fixable. If you ever mess up, there's always ways to fix it. Never sweat it. So let's see what else. Okay, so I had my dowel from these front and corner pieces, which is a smaller dowel than the mast. I haven't got to the mast on this ship on this one yet because it's going to be like tall, but I do have the things up there. Now, technically, masts really should taper, and then when they are out of a certain length but still of a certain size, because those are cut from one size of tree, then another one is clamped on with this weird 2-part mechanism. I'm not doing that. I'm going to have straight masts, and then I will probably taper those off with this. I'll probably try to put them in a drill and spin them and use a sandpaper against the end to like taper those. I'm probably not going to go for the double piece. For storage, those are going to need to be removable. So I'm not going to get into physical rigging. The rigging there will be little hooks, I think. There will either be rings or hooks on the masts, and rings or hooks on the top of rigid, what are they called? Rat ropes. The tapered things you always see that all the places where sailors can climb up them and all that. Those will be rigid. I am not going to try to rig this ship. I will try to make those out of like thin dowel rods or wires or something. That's 20, 30 episodes down the way. Those will hang from the rigging. Either they will hook into a ring, or there will be a ring, or they will have a ring and hook onto a hook. The masts themselves will be able to pull off. What I'm going to do for those is I'm going to drill a hole through that deck, that main deck, which you can't see on camera because I'm a professional, but that hole will line up perfectly with these masts, and I will drill a hole into those, and there will be a little peg at the bottom of the mast sections, and those will just stick right in there. That's right. I don't know how to spell, so you're gonna have to look that one up on your own, but they will right in there. Okay. So yeah, that's where we're at with the ship, which I'll get to in a minute. Push that off to the side. Meanwhile, this week I found a very, very, very old bottle of carpenter's glue. And I was thinking that, oh, well, it's still gushy, so maybe it's not that bad. And I left it sitting in an angle in something, and I realized it had been an angle for two, and it's still perfectly the same as if the angle was never there. So clearly this is too far gone. I thought I could maybe loosen it up with some water and get it workable again. And I opened the cap and realized, oh, that's not thinned with water. That's thinned with acetic acid, otherwise known as vinegar. This stinks. Still going to try to fix it, though, just because that's me. But that's going off to the side for that. That is not a today project. Put it down here with my chemicals box, but not in, so I remember it. Okay, remember the white paint? For any of you that view on a regular... Why are you leaking? Stop leaking. The white paint that I had that was really, 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 really old, and I added water to, and was trying... You were leaking everywhere. Paint all over the place. And was going to try to reconstitute it. No. I could probably use this for some kind of muck and mud mixture and smear it on and then like paint it or maybe even dye it or something. But there's paint between the chunks. The chunks are the problem. So that's a no. I cannot reconstitute 20-year-old dehydrated paint by just adding water. There's probably some way I could do it with a blender. I'm not doing that. So this will probably end up getting used as some sort of weird texture paste. Again, not a today issue. I'm putting that down next to my chemical box, even though it's going up with paint in a bit. So I've been cutting all those dowel rods off, so I only have a little piece left. So that goes in my wood cutoffs bits bottle. Wow. It's jar is what I actually say. And rubble jar is what I say. And so will all of my pieces that I told you where I had too many rungs and all of that. So those are all going in there. Even though some of these have hot glue on them and not all just wood, this is my wood rubble pile that I use for like scraps and crumbled down buildings and all that anyway. So waste not, want not, all of that. So those are all going in there except the one, because I'm weird and I over categorize everything. So that one, which is the end of a chopstick, is going into my pointy bits. And I don't know why. Maybe these will someday be palisade walls or pit traps or I don't know. I have no idea. But I have a pointy bits bottle that I always forget the cap doesn't actually tighten on. So I'm always trying to screw it down tight and it just doesn't work. Okay. 8-9 weeks ago, I was working on that farm, and I had the pieces of carpet that I was cutting the to look like wheat fields and such. And so I had the other piece of carpet laying off the side, and I said, oh, I'll get to that in a minute. And I didn't get to that in a minute. I got to that in like 6 weeks. And when I did, I still haven't trimmed off all of the little funky weird bits. So I'm actually going to switch that. Y'all are going to have to watch me trim off funky weird bits, and then I will get to the ship. But there is one more thing. I have some you can mix and match your crafts. Yes. So I have a pair of slippers that I really like, but they are bad on the sole. Ooh, I have a staple in that one. They are beyond bad on the bottom. They got lots of holes and stuff. So since I have craftiness and I have materials laying around, what I'm going to do is take spray adhesive and spray it on these and some EVA foam. That's the kind that you've seen on some of my earlier videos. But I'm going to glue these to that foam, then trim the foam to fit it, and basically have new soles on my shoes. But that's, again, not a today issue. Now, YouTube is having all sorts of problems. So if you are not hearing me or you are not seeing me, I can't do anything about that. I make the same offer I make every time YouTube messes with me. If it screws up and drops me once, I will try to fix it. If it screws up and drops me a second time, I won't, and we'll have to take all of this up next week. But again, I'm live in the same chair in the same spot, usually a couple times a week, sometimes more, on Discord, not on YouTube. So I'm sorry if it's messing up bad enough that you can't hear me or whatever. Let me switch to this other top camera while I read the messages and thank a bunch of people. So these are my Patreon patrons. And without them, literally this channel would not exist. They buy parts and stuff and things that go into what it is that I do. So Digital Calibrator, close personal friend, comes over and actually helps physically at the channel, plus helps me out financially. Love that. Patrick Walther, long-time supporter of the channel. I never know really if I'm supposed to point out the fact that he's got his own channel, but I feel bad that I don't send anybody over there. So I'm going to tell you, shh, don't tell Patrick. Patrick is also Hacksaw. So if you go to Hacksaw's channel, which don't bother me on YouTube, or it's called Hacksaw something. I don't remember the name of it, but I see him on like 5 or 6 different things. Anyway, come find me on my Discord, and I can send you a link to Patrick's YouTube channel if you want. Dungeon Matron, that's Lisa. Lisa is on a Wednesdays, gets together with Kim from Questboard Train and Carl from Carl Makes Stuff, and they have a YouTube channel called Just Flocking With You, where they just get together and have a good time doing crafting. Sometimes they interview people. Sometimes they have themed things, like they had a Halloween thing. So go give them a look over there. That's Dungeon Matron at Just Flocking With You. Also, that's Lisa, Dungeon Matron. She has a Discord where a lot of us like to hang out and stuff. And the link for her Discord is down in the down below here. So go look down there. Solo Nick has 2 channels. One is called Solo Nick. That's where he does the crafting and all of that sort of thing. Doing some stuff with minis lately, and some redid something lately, but I don't remember what he redid. Anyway, and also has a second channel called Climbing Moss, and in Climbing Moss he does like Man About Town stuff. Goes and he's like, hey, check this thing out that I went to. That's so both of those are very cool. And Mia Geeked has a channel called Mia Geeked, and is also on a game where a Twitch channel where they play various different games on live, and tabletop games live, and she is on that, and that is called Shadows of Arconia. So check out Mia Geek, Shadows of Arconia, Solo Nick, and Climbing Moss, Dungeon Matron, and Just Flocking With You, Patrick Walther, and Hacksaw's whatever it's called. Come find me on my Discord and I'll tell you. And Digital Calibrator. Digital Calibrator does not have an online that type of presence. So yeah, let me switch over here to the other thing. Now, this is the thing where I gotta switch on the light real quick. There's gonna be a big flash here for a second. All right, now let's read the screen. A friendly with the refresh button to get in quick. Yep, there you go. Still grilling. Grilling is good. I like it. Let's see. Change phone because iPad. What to do? Hey, and Lisa. I was just talking about Lisa. That's Dungeon Matron. She's here in the chat. She doesn't normally get to, because normally she has a game on Sundays and does not have that game today. So we get to see her live. Hello. All right. Strain the chunks and add acrylic artist matte. Yeah, I was thinking of that. It doesn't really need matte medium. It's very, the part that of the paint with the gobs in it, I could strain it, but it's literally not worth it. I have literally a gallon of white craft paint over there. It's honestly not worth the effort to try to retrieve a paint that's been sitting in a box unused for 20 years. But if I'm in it just for the challenge of it, yeah, I might do something like strain it. But it's fine the way it is for now. All right, so, yeah, let me switch to this one. Okay, now, I always forget, so let's not forget. Please like, share, subscribe, and after everything is done, please comment. All of that stuff helps drive the algorithm. Biggest 2 things you can do. Share, not share, like immediately, like now. That helps to drive the algorithm, and comment afterwards. Lets YouTube know that you're actually involved in the process going on here. And I think both of those things drive the algorithm more than anything. And anything I can do to get more viewers and show people more ways to not do, to do things is good. All right, so this one's a little crooked and wonky, and I just went with it. I just trimmed it off and trimmed all the little excess pieces off the edge here that are not grass looking. But like I said, these been meaning to get to these for a while, and I realized them right before the stream. So I said I'm coming in and talking about the ship, and I'm not talking about the ship for a second, and I apologize about that. But let me trim a couple more of these off here. There we go. And then I'll read what's left. Y'all are chatting like crazy out here. All right. We got Dungeon Magic going, talking back and forth with each other and about dinner. That sounds excellent. All right. So, Loosely Collected has a channel, just doesn't make videos. Yeah, well, yeah. I get you. Yeah, I'm totally on the Tubesy view. Yeah, why not? I'm totally doing that, except, not so much. That's how I am with Insta. I've got one. I always forget. Now, this week I did. I put the pictures of the ship, the build I've got so far of it done. I did put on Insta and several other places. I figured out why I actually don't like Insta, and it's really, really silly. Insta is supposed to also simultaneously be able to share with different things. But one of those main ones it shares with is Facebook. But it doesn't share to the right page on Facebook. It wants to go to my main page, and I don't want it to go to my main page. I want it to go to my campaign terrain page, and it doesn't want to do that. And that's honestly the only reason I always forget about Insta, because it doesn't cross-link. I can just go to Facebook and share in Facebook onto 5 or 6 different Facebook pages at once, mine and several other people's. Oh, staple. Fun. All right. That's the second time I found a staple today in different places. Scary. All right. So got those done. Oh, another little piece. Now, these little pieces of foam I do keep, and I end up putting those in an entirely different rubble jar than the one I already showed you. But the bigger pieces over there end up in a different box because, like I said, I overcomplicate everything. All right, so let's get my little fake fields trimmed up here. I didn't realize this was going to take quite as long as it does. I may stop again and set them off to the side again. But I really want them done so I don't have to do them another time. But they were sort of in my way today, which is pretty much the only way I remember to do things. I stick things in my way, and I'm like, oh, right, I got to do that before I can do whatever. That's really the only way I remember to do certain things. So it's the only way I can sort of sneak up on my ADHD and tell it what to do. Okay, so as I ask every week, I will ask you. I don't know what that big sigh was for. I'm actually in a really good mood and not exasperated or anything. I don't know why I sighed real big right there. Okay, what I normally ask every week is, anybody working on anything other than just hanging out and chilling? Now, we know that Loosely Collected, LC there, is one-to-one crafting dinner, doing some grilling. And we've mentioned before that Callie Lynn there does a bit of cleanup on Sunday evenings. So you know that there's cleaning and sterilization of the crime, not the crime scene. What was I meaning? Home going on Sunday. Don't know why I ever said that. Shh, don't tell the police. All right. So, but anybody crafting or making dinner or anything? Always curious. Always curious. Sometimes I feel like I'm sitting in a little bubble where people are just watching me and I'm just an exhibit, which is fine. I can exhibit. I don't mind it. But sometimes I don't find out for weeks and I'm like, oh yeah, during that one thing I was doing what? Well, it's like, well, you could have told us. So this is your chance to told us. In case you're wondering why I'm only trimming off the corners, they're the only part that looks really weird on these, as using these as like fields. I may go by and paint the edges of these darker brown at some point, but really, they're ready to go. I could just toss these, these cost nothing. They're literally free from scraps that were left over. And I can toss them on a table good to go without having to do anything with them. It's just that they look very, very square and modern and mechanical if I don't trim off the corners. But if I trim off the corners, it seems to completely fix that with just minimum effort. So let me get 2 more of these done, 4 corners each, and then I will get on with the ship. Hey, Jess. Jess is Sim Peasant with the channel Sim Peasant and does super chill gaming. No, never any violence, never any running guns, nothing like that. So give Sim Peasant's channel a watch. Good stuff. Always good to see you, Jess. And you said my ship is looking great, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It is turning out exactly how I expected, except so much bigger than I was picturing it in my head. It's exactly the dimensions I meant. I just wasn't picturing those dimensions correctly in my head, which is weird because I'm usually really good about stuff like that. But yeah, I was expecting the whole thing to be about this long, and it's got this whole extra caboose back here, and I was not expecting that. And so, yeah, but other than that, it's just what I wanted and perfectly fine. It's good. I like it. As the one meme goes, okay, I like it, Picasso. What's that? Art project. Okay, I like it, Picasso. Only. Come on now. Almost done, and these want to be a pain in the butt. All right, one more cut, and these are being silly. All right. Oh, okay. There we go. All right, now pull off the little edges. And oddly, the gluey stuff on the bottom of this is very crunchy, and it drops all sorts of weird little flakes. So let me sweep those off, and then we will get to the ship proper. And no, I am not keeping the carpet cutoffs in my scrap pile. Sorry about that. Anybody's like, oh my God, he's totally destroying the environment. What am I? Google? What? IT data centers? Never mind. That's too political. Let's move on. Okay, so put the scissors up. Need them. Did I remember to turn on my hot glue? Yes, I did. Okay, so here's what my plan is for tonight. I am either, and I really at this point still don't know, going to create the top decks that fit on here and have to measure that out and make the pieces that fit down in here and the top pieces that fit on it, or more stairs and cut my doors in. And I honestly don't know which. Now, these stairs were really easy because this part of the ship is basically straight to the back. It's not, it tapers in just slightly, but it's basically straight. This one where the front stairs would go is actually, okay, my stowaway does not want to get off my ship. It's actually curved in. So I have to attach them far enough back that the curvature doesn't affect that. And I don't think it's going to be a problem. But, oh, and I created the deck hatch thing for this deck as well, just like I did the one for the other two decks on 2 weeks ago's video. So, is that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks? Anyway, whatever. So, in addition to the stairs potentially being just a little off kilter and I have to work with that, these doors, if you look, are spaced exactly wide enough so that if you were to connect a straight line from the side of the stair to the back wall, that hits the door frame. It's like lined up exactly with that. If I do the same distance over in the front and then those are slightly curved, the stairs are actually going to be a little outside of the doors. And I'm trying to decide if I still want to do the doors the same amount in from the gunnels, or if I want to do them just a little bit further out so they match up with the stairs. And I think what I am going to do is do them the same length, since that will actually give me more room rather than too little room. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, I had an issue with a razor blade hobby knife, not wanting to get in there the right way last week. So I am going to need to be really careful when I do that, just being aware. Now, I was doing the door frames, not the frames, the hole where the door goes after I'd already installed the stairs. And this week I have the benefit of going, that was dumb, let's do it a different way. And so this week I am going to go ahead and put the doors in before I add the stairs. I know that needs to be, if I recall correctly, 1.5 inches from the gunnel, that's the side of the hull, to the edge of the door. Let's measure and find out. Let's take a small ruler if I can find it. No, that one's metric. All right, we're just going to kind of have to eyeball that. You can check it with me. But yeah, that's 1.75 inches, not 1.5 inches. This is why we measure everything. And from both sides, that is 1.75 inches from the inside wall over. Now, let's go ahead and mark that. Last time I did it by just pressing the doors into the wall and leaving and cutting where the dent is. That did not actually work all that well because the dent started to flex back out and disappear while I was doing it. So this time I'm actually going to mark it with a pin. More colors, I know, but all of this stuff is going to be, all of the candy stripe peppermint looking colors are going to disappear after I paint, or when I paint it. So let's go ahead and go. Now, this has a distinct angle right here. So do I come 1 3/4 in from the inside edge, or 1 1/4 inch and 3/4 from the outside edge? And I think I'm going to do it from the inside edge, just because that's going to leave me the maximum space to get a knife in there. So what I'm going to do is use the correct side of the square, and I am going to line this inside edge, which is the 0 point, up with this crotch, gap, corner, angle, whatever, right here, and measure inward this way from there. All right. We have a lot of people wargaming addiction by showing them a Mordheim. Oh yeah, that'll do it. Alexi, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I think you're the same Alexi I've seen before. If not, well, welcome second Alexi, but I think you're the first Alexi. So yeah, Instagram. I really do need to put more things on Instagram. And I never just threw my pin cap on the floor because of course I did. I never remember on Instagram or any of those to say, oh yeah, come check out my YouTube channel, because I are a dumb. So I need to remember to do all that sort of stuff. I don't know how to do the link thing either. There's a thing you can do where if you poke the Instagram video, it takes you to the link. I have no clue how to do that. I only have an IT degree. You'd think I'd be able to figure it out. The bigger the piece, the more detail you can put in. That's what she said. Pin cap landed in the trash. Great. That's actually good. It makes it easier to find than digging around on the floor. Okay, so that is 1 3/4 in, and that is 1 3/4 in. And that is going to be my outer edge of my door frames. So these are going to go here and here. I am putting them so that both of my doors would swing inward into the cabin, and once they're in the cabin, out towards the sidewalls. These doors don't swing. That's just for view, the way they would appear. It's not, they don't actually move. I'm insane, but I'm not that insane to make moving doors on my first ship I've made in 20 years. I also need to cut a bunch of windows in this deck, and all along the deck that goes below. Now, in my fantasy world, there are no cannons, so they won't need to hold cannons, but you do need portholes for ventilation and stuff like that. Of course, I don't need to put them in the lower 2 decks because, let's not put a screen door on a submarine. Okay, that's one. I don't know if you can see that, but there is now a door-shaped frame pressed into the foam. Alrighty. And do that on the other side as well. And it doesn't matter when I put these in which way I'm facing the door, because it does leave little doorknob dents, door catch dents in the foam as well. That doesn't matter because I'm cutting that entire piece of foam out. So I'm probably squishing the heck out of this foam, but it's not going to be bad. And actually, once I got the wooden doors in this wall, it made the wall sturdier. So good job there. Okay. Alrighty. Now, what I say, get a good knife. Now, this is the one I just sharpened the other day. Okay. See where we're at. Yes, I wasn't able to join your streams. That's no worries. You can always watch it after, whichever. I'm glad to have any eyeballs on it at all. So no worries if you miss one. I appreciate you coming tonight. I didn't ban an Alexi, did I? I don't think I banned an Alexi unless you're the one that has Hina in your name. If you're the one that has Hina in your name, we're gonna have no. But I don't think you're that person. I only banned one person, I think. Haven't played some games. Haven't played. Yeah. I have not played any tabletop games at all since COVID. And people are like, but you got this channel about, yeah, I know. What do you use all the terrain for? Yeah, I know. But yeah, I know. But I like to play in person. And I haven't had anybody to play in person with since, I know we're not supposed to say COVID on YouTube, but there I've said COVID. But since the I love that. Absolutely love that. And by love, I mean really, really, really can't stand. I just got disconnected from YouTube for a minute and said, you're offline, meh. And then immediately came back up with excellent connection. And I'm like, well, which? Which is it? Is it working really well or not working at all? Make up your mind. The joys of technology. So, as I was saying, I have not played a tabletop game of any description, solo or otherwise, since before the beginning of 2020. But that having been said, I highly recommend doing so. Even if you play online and meet people that way, that's at least social interaction with other people of a like-minded viewpoint that are also dorks and geeks and weirdos in the same way that whoever is playing the game is. But I would say that if you get the chance, play in a live one. It's very, very different seeing within arm's length the people you're playing with. And I cannot recommend it enough. It has given me endless joy for, oh my God, 4.5 decades. I love gaming. I absolutely love gaming. And I suppose there's a social interaction with like online computer, multiplayer games and all that, but it's just not the same for me. But live interaction, tabletop games, whether in person or virtually across the interwebs, the social interaction, I can't express enough how beneficial it is just to the overall psyche. So yeah, strongly recommend. Okay, we're gonna put, this one's got a busted little doorknobby thing, and I don't want to have to, I will be the only one that ever notices, ever. But I'm not going to put it on the side where you can see it easily. I'm going to hide it inside the quarters. Okay, so now I am ready to do that part. So I'm going to put just a little bit of glue so it doesn't squidge out everywhere. And I always use my glue on low temp, not high temp, because that way I don't run the risk of melting my foam. So I'm going to put glue all 4 ways around this, all 4 ways on all 4 sides, you know what I mean? All the way around, that's what I meant to say. And mush it into place, and then sort of squidge it in as I go. Now, that left, this one I cut too big and I have some space around the frame. I don't think that is going to matter because there's never going to be enough light shining on this piece that you'd be able to notice that. And once I've got several layers of paint on it, any little gaps or whatever in there, I can't show you that from the angle my eye can see that, but you can see that I'm got it a little bit too large for the frame. If I really wanted to, I could come by and putty that in with something, but I'm not gonna. By the time it's got multiple layers of paint and all that on there, I'm not worried about it. All right. Let's see. Oop, wrong way around. So that's gotta go that way. Okay. And again, see if I share, like, subscribe, comment, knock over the sign. So again, a little bit of glue, all four sides. Once I get this pressed in and held into place for just a second to where it'll hold itself, then I will read the comments again. Ow! Stuck my finger right in that glue. It's not that hot. Like I said, it's on low temp, so not a big deal. Speaking of things burning you or not burning you, I am used to really hot food. I eat lots of spicy stuff, and I made some rice and beans earlier, and I used the spicy beans in my rice, and man, I am glad they were diluted with the rice. Even I was like, those are toasty. Those are zingy. But my rice and beans was really good, so whatever. Okay, I didn't get that one quite as far into the wall as I wanted before the glue started to harden up, but it's not going to matter because it's literally protruding, standing proud, as we say in carpentry, on both sides. So, yeah, that's the doors. Okay. Like I said, I take the smaller pieces and put them in my rubble pile. I have 2 rubble piles. We already covered this. Being redundant now, we said this at the beginning of the thing. All right, now I'm going to build the stairwells. Last time, when I was online live the other night for like 5 hours and nobody came in. But the other night, while I was building these, it occurred to me that there's only one way to do this. There's probably other ways with jigs and various other things like that. But for me, there's one way to do that. And that is using hot glue. I tried like 20 different things and just no. Okay, now I know I need 5 gaps, and I'm going to put them 1 1/3 apart to make them the same as this. I went through a whole process of maths with that the other day, and I thought that was the right size to do this so that I can have figures climbing the stairs and stand in the stairwell. And so that is what I came up with. I probably should have done it closer, but so I'm going to copy the same distance that I did on those. I also built the stairs at 45 degrees. Stairwells are not built at 45 degrees. Stairwells are built at 37.5 degrees. It's the right amount for your foot to come up the right amount and to go forward the right amount to feel comfortable. At least that's according to American building codes, 37.5 degrees. It's not on the memo. It's not on the test for ships. Maybe on the test for ships. But anyway, I'm building these at 45 degrees because that's what I started with, and it was easier than 37.5. And so that's what I'm doing. Now, what I did is I took my popsicle stick, the sides of stairs are called stiles, and the steps of stairs are called rungs. The back plate that you kick is called a riser. I'm not building risers. For my stiles, to get them at 45 degrees, I used my grid, and I laid it on here at 45 degrees, which means I went from one corner down 2 and over 2, and that gives me my 45 degrees for my stick. And then I am going to get that 45 degree line across it, I am going to follow the lines across the board this way. So I can possibly get 2 out of 1. Yeah, madness. That way madness lies. We're not doing that. Okay, so I'm going to take that and draw. I know that you can't see it from there. I'm sorry. I'm very right-handed. I cannot do this left-handed, and I don't have a camera on my left side. So that is all I'm doing, is I'm drawing a little line like that at 45 degrees. 5 lines like that at 45 degrees. And 1/3 of an inch apart. I'm not going to tell you how I got that math. It doesn't really matter. You can build it how you want. But 1/3 of an inch is 1/4 and 1/3 of a quarter, which is a 12th, but you know, whatever. And these don't have to be perfect. These are going to get hot glued in and be squidgy and blah, blah, blah. So, oh, and I put that one in at the wrong spot anyway. Because of course I did. And I need 5, so I got to go one more past my main line here and put one there. Now, technically, the top one and the bottom one are not necessary because the bottom could be basically on the deck and the top could be under a piece that's going to be sitting on top of here, which we'll get to tonight, maybe. If not, I'll do it over the weekend, over the week, and I'll post pictures on the Discord. Lost track of what I was saying. I don't know what I was saying. Whatever. Okay, so now I can remeasure all of these and hold them in place and all that, but really what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece here, these pieces here, and just continue that line across. I am arranging them at 45 degrees just to make sure that I have it right, and then I am coming across in an almost straight line. Five times. Now this one I drew a little funky and off, so I'm just going to have to take that into account. So the others won't line up with it perfectly. So I also said I was going to read what y'all were typing in the comments, and I completely forgot to do that. So let me get back to that in just a second. Okay, now that's all four. I've got 2 stairwells, 2 styles on each stairwell. That comes out to 4. I can do maths sometimes. Okay. Now these were 1.5 inches across. I use 1-inch bases, so 1.5 inches. Made sure that I had enough space for the base to fit in there, and then I put a sturdy stabilizer piece in the back, and literally just glued it in there after the end because I thought they were a little weak feeling. So we will do all of that in a minute. But right now I need to cut 10 of these at 1.5 inches. I should, as ever on my channel, air quotes, should be able to get 2 out of each of these. So I need 5 of these. Wow, I got out exactly the right number of sticks accidentally. Couldn't do that again if I tried, which means now I will mess something up and break them, but you know, whatever. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and mark these at 1.5 inch increments. And I still haven't read I told you I was going to come back to that. Now, okay, let's see where we're at. I'm 15, my daughter's 18. Most of those kids of mine get on my nerves. Beginning of the best times, my jokes are weird references I don't get. Yeah, tell me about it. If you don't know who the Goonies are, I more than likely will consider you too young to play with. Fair. There are actually a lot of young people that know exactly who the Goonies are because, well, Goonies never say die. And so, you know, the Goonies is still around. It's still a popular thing. I just saw on a carpentry channel the other day a guy joke about his friend, and he made a 3D print of his friend, and his 3D print of his friend is Chunk in the pirate outfit. Chunk in the pirate outfit. And I was like, that's funny. That's funny. And I got the reference immediately. And then afterwards, I was like, you know, there's a bunch of people who will not get what that joke is. And they'll think that either your friend is really strange looking or you're being mean to your friend. And all of those could be true. It could be that it's just supposed to look like Chunk, and you're mean to your friend, and your friend is weird looking. But I didn't go that far with it. I just thought it was funny. Goonies never say die. All right. I can host the D&D game online, but my accent would be too unpleasant to play with. No, it wouldn't. I promise you it wouldn't. Your accent can be anything. I have an accent that I use for almost all of my NPCs that I'm not expecting anybody to ever deal with again. I have this kind of throwaway accent, and when I'm just being silly talking to myself, it's the same accent I use for myself, and it is kind of Scottish and kind of Australian and kind of Irish. And it's because I grew up watching too much, not too much, but I was the weird kid that watched PBS and all my friends were watching other stuff. And so I grew up on a lot of TV from other parts of the world than the United States. And so my Scotch-Strasian-ish accent, that's what I call it, is horrible. And yet people still, nobody has ever told me that I can't stand it when you make the voices. No one has a problem with your accent, I promise you. Oh, behind the Iron Curtain. Oh, well. Yeah, I don't know. Y'all have a lot going on. I can understand if you can't manage to get a game going in any regular interval with the lot y'all got going on. Y'all have a lot going on. Again, not going to get too political, but y'all have a lot going on. Okay, so now, as I've said before, when you cut things like this, they have a tendency to go pew across the room. So just be careful. I don't like to stick my finger in front of the short ones because they come flying off with such velocity that it can sometimes actually hurt my finger. So what I do on the little short stubby bits is I turn it over and cut down toward the table. I normally collect all my scrap and use it for rubble, but that one went who knows where. Floor somewhere. Once it's on the floor, it's dead to me. That one I've said for years. If you jump on the floor, you're dead to me. That's not about people. Just, you know, you're like, well, I'm laying on the floor now. You know what do you mean? You don't? No. Just inanimate objects. Well, if they're inanimate, how can it shut up? Okay. There's two. And that one went flying anyway, even though I was trying not to. So this one, I'm not even going to try and stop. I'm just going to let it go. Oh, and of course it lands right on the table. Yes, of course it does. Oh. All right. So cutting a bunch of rungs, got real quiet there for a second. Sorry about that. I do that. I'll start to be on a step where I have to do things repeatedly, and I get really quiet. I lapse into quietude and forget to talk. And I have watched streams for hours where there was like no noise except the background noise from the people streaming and been fine with it. But I know that some people can't like me to talk the whole time, and I can do that. I can talk all day long. I am good with the talking. Yeah, so that's what I call my fakey dialect accent that I use for my NPCs, and sometimes I'm talking to myself is Scottstrasian-ish, and the ish is both for Irish and British. Scottstrasian-ish, that's me. I have never been accused directly to my face of, oh, you're just copying that person's accent. And that's actually a real thing. Parroting people's dialect and accent is a thing that humans just do. It's apparently never meant as an insult. It's only so that we like show that we're paying attention to the conversation and we're fitting in. And most people don't even realize they're doing it. I am painfully aware of the fact that I am doing it. But I've never had anybody call me out on it. So to all my Scottish, Australian, Irish, and British friends, well, sorry. Apologies now. This is your apology. This is the one you get. Okay, as I said, these all go in my rubble piles. Except for that one I just dropped on the floor again. That's two on the floor in tonight's thing. All right, I sweep up about once a week. It's all good. Okay, now all these are exactly, totally not, 1.5 inches. So I just got to get them close enough that when I glue on the other side, they'll sit in the right spots. Now, what I'm going to do is, I tried last week to put glue on the ends of these and then stick them on, and that was kind of not functional. So what I'm going to do is put glue down the line, and I start extruding and then pull that extrusion onto the line, because if I just go all the way down the line, I get way too much glue out. Okay. This does take, even though it's on low temp, not high, it does take a minute for it to set. Otherwise, I'll let go of it and I'll watch the stairwell go, and I don't want it to do that. So hold that for a few seconds. Good to go. Okay, following that line. You're just tuning in, and you're going, following what line? I have 45-degree angle lines that I've drawn on here to put my stairs in, because I'm going to make my stairs rise at a 45-degree angle, which is not technically proper, but it's what I'm doing, and I'm going to stick with it. Now, these are not cut exactly straight across because I'm not a machine. So some of my stair get a little wonky. I fix all that in a minute. I'll show you how. Okay. I feel like I've been talking a while, so it's probably getting close to 8. Okay, 10 till 8. So not quite as late as I thought. I might actually get to designing on some of the decks tonight, but I think I will probably not. I think I'll probably get these stairs on, and that's about it. Okay, once again, ow, set the nib directly on my hand. Glue down that little line. I don't know if you can see that, but there's glue down that line. And then take the stair and stick it in the line. I realize you can't see that because I'm very right-handed and I'm in your way, but that is the best I got going on right now. Okay, one more on here. Now that I know what I'm doing, because these are the second set I've done, these are coming along much better than much quicker than the first ones did, and in fact, much more parallelly arranged, synchronously, whatever. So that one, nope, I'm still not cooled off. Let's hold that for a second longer, or several seconds longer. There we go. Okay, so that one actually has turned out pretty good, but as you can see, these are not all lined up the same way lengthwise, and see how these two are a little bit wonky off the other? What I do is I take that, and when I put it here and just press it down, then it can press it close enough that it's going to be in the right spot. Now, I want to try to get the ones that are most parallel with this board, or perpendicular with this board, which happens to be these two, not these three. So what I'm going to do is I am going to then take glue and put a blob on the back of each stair. Again, back is arbitrary, but I'm picking the ones that I think are straighter. And I'm going to put the glue on the back of all of those, and hopefully not drip it all over my mat, but we shall see. Then I will take one of these other sticks, press it onto that glue, flip it over, and press all of those into that. And hopefully not tear them off like I almost did that middle rung. But if I get this piece fairly parallel to the ground and press all those onto that stick, that pretty much fixes the other side where they weren't lined up with each other. Now, for the one fact that they are different lengths, I really don't have a way to fix that. So what I did last time is kind of over-glopped with the glue on one of these and didn't like that. So what I'm going to do is take my smaller nippers, and the ones that I can see are clearly longer than the others, or at a weird angle, I am going to trim that off with the little nippers. And you got to be a little bit careful with this, because if you use the wrong side of the nipper, it will send all of the cutting torque into this piece, and you can actually crack the rung. So I don't want to do that, so I'm making sure that I'm using the correct orientation on my nippers here. Wow, that one zinged off the far wall. That was a good shot. Okay, now, see, those are much more aligned. Still a little wonky, but they're close enough. So then I will take the other one of these, make sure I've got it lined up the correct direction. I don't, that's backwards, so it's gonna have to go. Okay, I see what I did there. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine, it's fine, this is all fine. All gonna get painted. So instead, what I'm gonna do, because I did two of those backwards, shh, don't tell anybody, is I'm gonna put glue on each of these, which I just said a minute ago don't do, but well, sometimes you gotta do what you said don't do. Do what I say, not what I said, not what I do. Okay, then we take that and stick that onto the other stile. Stile, again, is the uppy-downy part on stairs, as opposed to the standy or crossy part Okay, and you can press fairly rigidly on those to hold them in place. Just make sure that you don't like move your hand one side or the other, or you'll collapse all of your stairs and have to start all over again, and you'll invent cuss words, and it's just a horrible scene. So I'm gonna let that one cool for a while, so before I go trimming it, because I don't want to trim it while it's still wiggly, so to speak. So we're gonna let that one, again, I used that word I used last week, rigidify. Now on this, I'm gonna get smarter, and yeah, I'm going to take one of these and go the other way on it. No, you know what? I'm not. That was too easy. I just did it, and it just went along with it and did it. So, this one I can tell already has a messed up piece. I'm going to trim this one to begin with. Okay, got that little corner off, and good to go. Now, can you do 2 rungs at once? Yes. Should you? Oh, I don't recommend it unless you got that 3rd or 4th hand installed. I am starting at the other end, so I'm hoping you can see some of what I'm doing, but you can't, so that's all right. I could possibly move the camera closer, but you get the idea. I'm following the lines and gluing the rungs on. I guess on stairs they're called treads, but they're still rungs. Cross part on a ladder is a rung. The cross part on a stairwell is a tread or a rung. I've called them rungs for years. No one has ever not known what I meant. I used to be a professional carpenter. I used to get paid for this kind of junk. I hated it, like pretty much every minute of it. I like doing the projects. I hated doing the projects for picky people. And I never really seemed to have anybody that wasn't a picky person. I'm sure they're out there, but I didn't end up with their contracts. Okay. And I have a fun story about picky people. I had a guy that I worked for a company, and I finally got promoted to job site supervisor, which meant I actually had the authority to say the things that most people want to say but can't to a contractor. Not to a contractor, to a contractee, to a contract holder. And I learned a phrase that saved everybody in my company endless hours of headache. And that was, yeah, I can do that. Let me get a change order form so we can figure out how much that's going to cost you. Be right back. They never wanted it to cost more, so I never had to add work when it wasn't expected. People always want what they pay for, times 5. And that gets really tiring after a while, especially if you're not getting paid for all the extra hours. For those who don't know, contractors don't get an hourly wage. Subcontractors do, but contractors get paid by the job. And if the job takes 5 times as long, you don't get 5 times the pay. You destroyed the mat that they gave you to use the crafting challenge. Oops. Oh, well. Sorry about that, Lisa. Okay. Flying skateboards on purpose. They were essentially normal ones before they went airborne. Yeah, that can happen. I've made some skateboards fly, but I've recovered well. I'm not as bad at skateboarding as I am at surfing. Now, surfing has 3 parts, and I am good at 1 of them. I can get up on a surfboard and be surfing. No problem. Done. Yep. Doing the thing. Surfing now. I am surfing. I can get off of the surfboard. I am really good at getting off of the surfboard. Not when I'm supposed to, but way early. But I can get off of a surfboard. And there's a staying up on a surfboard. And that's the part where I have the difficulty. I'm really good at skateboarding, or at least I was before I got fat and out of exercise and haven't done it in years. But I used to skateboard regularly, like at skate parks and using it as transportation, all of it. I really am a good skateboarder when I put my mind to it. But I never quite get the hang of surfing. I'm also a decent snow skier. Not great, not by any means great, but I'm a decent snow skier. I am kind of garbage at water skiing, but that's probably a lot of that has to do, and maybe some of the surfing has to do with the fact that I hate water. I absolutely can't stand water. I don't like it. I don't want to be in it. I don't want to be splashed with it. I don't like water. So that may have something to do with why I'm not good at either of those two sports. But I don't know that for a fact. I just may not have those skill sets. Okay, I'm putting some more glue in the bottom under this one side because it didn't seem to glue as much as I wanted, and I'm putting just a tiny bit and smearing it into where you can't really see it. But once all this gets painted up and half this stuff is in nooks and crannies anyway, you're not going to be able to see that. Now, the other one, I put the upright brace on, the back brace on this before I put the other side on, and on this side, I kind of forgot to do that. So I'm doing that now. A little bit of glue on the back of each one of these rungs right in the middle. And you don't have to do this part. If yours is holding together well, that's fine. I am making these match my ones on the other side. The ones on the other side I needed on because I screwed those up really bad and did a bad job at it. So now I'm kind of having to match it just for my own personal preference. I wouldn't have to. No one else but me would ever know. No one would ever know. No one would ever care. But I'm doing it for my own benefit. Okay, but as you can see, it did get most of the twisty weirdness out of it when I did that. So it worked out in the end, so that's good. So we're gonna leave that sitting there. Still a little bit of a twist, but way less than it was. This one is still wonky, but it won't matter. It will not matter, and you'll see why in a moment. Okay, now last time I took my big nippers and tried to trim these off, but it left pieces sticking out. But when I tried it with the little nippers, it cracked the pieces really bad. So I'm going to use the bigger nippers first and then go back in with the smaller nippers and trim it off. And just, that's the easy way to do it, is do it twice. Phew, there went that piece. Save you in my rubble. I will also, on one of these, probably end up having to sand that off with my sanding stick. But we shall see. Nope, I'm not. That's from the wrong side. Okay. Okay. I keep saying okay. I've said it like 5 times in a row. Apologize for that. That's a habit of mine when I'm doing things that require steps. I'm like, okay, that one, and okay, that one. I say okay a lot. So just a thing I do. Okay, now, just to get things out of my way, we'll go ahead and stick these in the rubble pile. Oh, by the way, these little offcuts of popsicle sticks, if you're ever building graveyards or anything, these make great little gravestones. So you got a bunch of these extra little ends laying around, you're like, what am I going to do with all these little rounded pieces? Gravestones. Or shingles. They make good shingles, too. If you have a bunch of them, they make good shingles. Okay. Explain to me the flying skateboards, or as we call them, hoverboards, and we don't have them yet. Oh yeah, that's you. Yeah, you get a promotion, which means more headaches and less pay. Oh no, 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 no! Don't do that. Then you'll have one of those people that you'll have some supervisor 5 years from now go, "You turned down a promotion." And you're like, "It wasn't a promotion." I'll be like, "But you would have had more responsibilities." And you're like, "Yes, exactly." I mean, like, that's a good thing. And you're like, "No." And then they fire you for not being a team player. I've worked in corporate America. In, of all things, the communications field. For those of you who are old, I worked in what we were promptly notified was a high priority target on 9/11. Yeah, that's always fun. Okay, there's one that's completed and done, ready to go. And just trimming off all these little excess parts, standing proud. It turns out I'm not going to have to sand this because the nippers are doing a good enough job. Even if I did just pinch myself in the damn hinge. Almost done trimming. These have little sharp corners on them, and I could leave those because they're really not going to matter, but I know I would end up dragging that across myself at some point and then be angry at the inanimate object, and I have enough of that in my life. I don't need to mess with that. So we're going to go ahead and... Ooh, that one went a long way. That one too. Okay, now I'll take all this scrap, and this is a little too small to bother putting in my rubble pile because it'll just go straight to the bottom and I'll never actually get to it. So these little pieces here, those I'm throwing out. Okay, now to attach these, as I don't know if you can see this, but they are, I already know this, going to be too short for this thing at the length they are because the ones on the other side were. So what I'm going to do is take some little tiny pieces of foam core and building a little platform under it and just having it rise up off that flat platform. And then I'm putting glue just at the top right here of the railing and sticking that to it. And with that other piece under it, that will sit right there. And as you can see, I did not need to move the doors over as far as I did, but it's not a problem. It's better to have them further inward than to have them further outward. So yeah, that is where I'm at with that. And let me glue that. Let's find a single layer piece of foam core of just about the right size. That'll work. Ow! That was me elbowing my entire ship. Sorry if that was loud, y'all. Okay, so I'm going to need about that twice. So I'm going to need to about there. I'm just going to go ahead and, I don't want that. I want a knife. So I know that these are 1.5 inches plus a board wide. So I'm going to cut a little more than 3 inches off of here. And I will trim it to fit after. The reason I'm not just, anyway, doesn't matter. I did that knowing that I would peel them first. So now I will take that And feel that did not get all the paper off. That's all right. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. This is fine. Oh, this side doesn't want to come off at all. Oh, I have to argue with this one. Hold on. Okay, got you off of there, and you there. Okay, now you decide which one I'm going to use as. No, I'm not going to decide which one because I've already made that decision by putting this on. It only goes one way. So I know this is the bottom. Take this, a little bit of hot glue on it. Again, don't want too much. Don't want it squidging out everywhere. So just enough to get it attached. Like that. Line it up with the end of the piece so that I know I have enough clearance on the other end. And yep, sticking that on there. Then once that starts to set, yep, there we go. I'm going to take the little knifey here and slide it, little knifey, whatever, and slide it down my style and take that off. It's one good to go. And then do the same thing on the other side and figure out which one's the bottom. That's this one. And a little bit of glue on that. As you can see, it's a very thin line. I'm not putting very much on there at all. And then lining that up with one end, and then squishing that to make sure it's lined up. I seem to have cut that at a slight angle, so I left that standing out a little. Once that sets, any day now that'll set. There it goes. Okay. And then take that off and that little weird piece off the other side. And that in the scrap box. Close the knife for safety. Okay, now what I'm going to do is put some glue here on the ship and here, because there will actually be a gap between the style and the fence. So I just want a little bit of glue here at the top and a little bit of glue across the bottom here. So I'm going to take that and go blip, and just a tiny bit there. It does not take much hot glue really to put things. Okay, and then I want to put that on there and make sure it's got kind of got it aligned perpendicular across the ship. And because if I follow this railing, the stairs are going to be all weird. Now I could follow that and just, yeah, it's easier because when I build the top deck on here, it'll be better to have a straight line across here that I can follow. Okay, so now I will do the same thing on this side, a little bit on the bottom, which I'm probably doing off camera because I'm a professional, and a tiny bit right here on my railing, and put that in just like that. Now I want to turn that this way so I can make sure I'm actually sitting aligned with the deck, which I wasn't, so that's good. And now I am, as you can see. And there you go. That's it. Now, it looks like I am running out of time for tonight, which is fine. I don't think I will be building the decks over this week, because I'm going to leave that so y'all can see that, because I will be having railings around those, and then you can see how I did these. I mean, you can pretty much see how I did these anyways. It's push pins, they're hot glued in at the bottom, and I hot glued a strap over the top, and it looks like a railing, and it's all well and good. So you can pretty much see what I did. But, so you can actually see what I did, I'm going to do this again on next Sunday. So let's leave that there. I'll take a few promo shots of that here in a minute. But with my new hatch, which I then threw on the floor because of course I did. There's my face while I'm reaching for something. Hello. Okay. Whew. That was weird. That's probably the weirdest thing I've ever done on public video. I've done stuff. Never mind. There's one time in college. No, not that kind of thing. Not that kind of thing. But my hatch does line up two different ways. Now this one, unlike the other two hatches, which I did on video last time or the time before, both of those were square, because that hole, keep in mind, these are being cut by eyeball, not by mechanical measurement. Both of those happen to be square holes. Now, one of those is slightly smaller than the other. It'll only fit on one of them. Anyway, but this one I had to cut at a very slight rectangle. So it's one more dot, one more gap, space, hole, whatever, long than it is wide, so that it will fit just so. And I've got it's this green one. And that one goes to the front. And that goes like that. And I will not be gluing those in. Those will be staying loose so that I can pop them out if I need to during gameplay or whichever. So I can say people can lower in and out. And that way, there's no question of, is the hatch open? The hatch will be open. Now, the problem is there's no place to put the hatch. If they open these, if these were real, there would be cross members and things like that. And these would come out in 4 quadrant pieces. I'm not going to do all that. So if somebody's like, oh, I'm opening the hatch, I will just take the thing and be like, okay, there, the hatch is open. Yeah. So next week I will be cutting, before next week, I will probably cut a bunch of holes for windows. And those will be just literally, I'll pick something that I'm going to use as the right size. I've got windows made already somewhere. I will probably use the same windows for this as I used for my little tiny houses. So I will either make some new windows or find some windows, and then I will cut the holes and put the windows in, and those should be in by next week. There should be 2 here, 2 here, and 2 on each side here, and I might do a bigger window back here since it's supposed to be the captain's quarters. Also, where the rudder is going to eventually go, there will need to be a box where all the mechanical stuff, the ropes and gears and pulleys and such, would be. But I'm not building that until after I have the deck with the wheel on it. There's not going to be an actual mechanism, because there's no way I'm going to make that happen through 3 or 4 decks. I will be building that. It will just be a square in there, and I may put a ceiling in it so that you just can't even like reach into it, or I may just paint the inside black so that you can't see it. Or dark gray or whatever. So this is what we've got so far. And I'm going to have to pull that camera back in a minute, but let me go ahead and get that. And ow, ow, ow. Sat in one position too long, my knees locked up. Being old is not fun. All right, so that is the whole ship so far. This deck and this deck are both going to be painted very dark brown or black. They will be under the waterline. Most of the time, if I have this in port, it will be sitting this tall, because that way I can put a gangplank down to my port, to my piers, or basically across to my docks. And this piece will either be black or brown to match the bottom, or maybe purple to match this one. This deck will definitely be purple. That's the color I've decided on. And so, yep, that's where we're going. Now the inside of this, the inside here, the inside of all of these decks, and all that, those will all be various shades of wood brown and all of that. So they were just going to look like lumber. The only part that's going to be funky, weird colors are these 2 decks, if I make them black so that they look like they've been covered in pitch, or they may just be dark brown as well. Yeah, so I hope this is exciting. If not, well, I can't help you with that, but y'all seem to keep coming back, so maybe it's exciting. Let me turn off this light and switch to the front again. And yeah, so that's the kind of stuff I do, is put the little sticks together with the hot glue and all that fun kind of stuff. All righty. Yeah, so I was expecting this whole ship to turn out about this size, this length, maybe this length. This is bizarre. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I'm not upset with it. It's exactly how I expected it. It's just bigger. Now, my scale is 1/48. That's 1 inch equals 4 feet. 1/48 inch scale is in 1/48 scale, since this is 9 inches across the deck, not including the gunnels, but 9 inches across the deck. That's 36 inches wide, 36 feet wide. 36 feet wide is the same beam. Beam is the cross width of a ship. 36 feet wide is the same beam as the Cutty Sark, a very, very, very famous ship. The Cutty Sark is, however, a much, much bigger ship. So this is a fat girl. This is a chonky baby. She big, she grand, she thick with the double C's, and I'm okay with that. She would not be particularly fast, but she would probably be fairly steady in high waves, just because of her girth to her beam to keel. I literally couldn't be happier with this. 2 weeks ago, I was mad at this. I was like, I hate this. It's irritating me. It's frustrating me. And since then, I've just gotten in the mindset of, no, it's an adventure. I'm learning new things, even though I'm building something that I've built before. I've never built one with the hatches before, so that's kind of new. I've still got to do things like line up where the masts are going and all of that. And now I am actually really having a good time with it. I don't know what changed. Something in my attitude. So good. Yay. I love it. So yeah, I'm really liking my ship, and I hope you're enjoying seeing me build it. I can quit blathering at you now because I've done what I meant to do for the night. Please, again, like, share, subscribe, comment. And yeah, if you've never been here before, welcome. If you have been here before, you're one of my returning campaigners, and I love all of you, whether it's your first time or your 700th time. We're all in this together, whether we're building TTRPG stuff, whether we're building war game stuff, fairy gardens, doll houses, book nooks. There was another one. There's 6 of them. Anyway, but if you're building anything miniature, I'm happy to talk to you about it. If you're just interested in things that are miniature, I'm happy to talk to you about it. Oh, and gaming. If you're interested in talking about gaming, I will talk to you about gaming all day long. So thank each and every one of you for coming. This is Campaign Terrain. I am your host, That Guy Cross. This is the basement. You're welcome back every Sunday, except like last week when I couldn't make it. But you're here. Welcome anyway. And come hit me up in the Discord as well if you ever want to chat. Links in the down below. And yeah, that's it. As ever, know that I love you. We're all in it together. And until next time, I wish you luck in your campaign, whether it's in real life or on a table. And I will see you later. Thank you so much for coming.